but I am proud and thrilled to call him my friend. So can you all just put up a whole lot of hearts and love for my good friend, internationally known gospel recording artist, Earnest Pugh. Earnest, come on in, my friend. Come on in. How are you, sir? Come on in.
Hello.
How are you
How you
doing?
doing?
How are you?
How's everybody doing?
Ernest,
I'm doing great.
listen, they love you, man. I mean, the heart, they
Oh
love you.
wow.
Yeah. They are just loving you. They're like, oh my God, do you really have him here? Yeah, I mean, so the hearts, the smiley faces, all of this, y'all keep them going for about maybe a good 30 seconds, 15 more seconds. Internationally known gospel recording artist, and to call him my
For
friend,
years,
friend. Yeah,
almost two
Ernest,
decades.
yeah. So it's been almost 20 years that we've known each other, right?
Yeah, almost
Yeah,
20 years.
yeah.
We getting older.
Yeah, we are getting older. We're getting older. In fact, I said to someone earlier today, this is when we just call each other, we just use the word distinguished. We're getting
Yes.
because we didn't have all of this when we first met each other.
No, not at all. And I'm feeling like your uncle or somebody.
And you have just a little bit more than I do, but hey,
Yes,
because we're all distinguished. Man, how have
that's right.
you been?
Everything has been great. This is I've been calling this, and before I do that, I want to say hi, Mama Cutler. She's on here. So happy to have you on here. I mean, without you, look, I wouldn't have my good friend Gregory. So glad that you're able to join us tonight. But I've been really calling this like a global reset, Cutler, because to me it's like we're having to re-strategize, reset, refocus a lot of things that we thought would be happening in 2020 that's happening, and it's really all good. We got to embrace it. But one thing about it is, COVID-19 has a deadline. And when the deadline is up, we have to resume business as usual. So you
Uh-huh.
can't get ready, you got to be ready. And that's what I'm doing. I'm taking time to just strategize for post COVID-19.
You know what, Ernest, you're absolutely right. In fact, I've been telling the book club members, the people who are follow me on this platform, that my goal is to come out of this better than I came into it.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I'm
It's
taking full
pushing
of
us there.
absolutely it's pushing us. So I'm taking full advantage of the opportunity to just better myself, to work on some
Yeah.
things to improve me during this almost like a hibernation period. So when the
Yes.
out of hibernation, now I don't want to come out looking like a bear, but God knows.
You've never
But
had problems with that.
right. So I'm telling the book club members and those who are on this platform, just make sure that you focus on something that makes you better when you come out, because like you said,
Exactly.
this quarantine has an expiration date. So
Yeah,
how is your family doing though, Ernest? How's your family? And I know that you have family all over the place. Family,
all over the
it's
place.
right there in Memphis. How are they doing? Your family?
Everybody has been doing really good. For the most of my family members have been blessed to work from home. They're essential, but they're able to work from the confines of the four walls of their house. I have one sister who has to go out. Her job requires that she go out, but we check on her daily. She's practicing everything within the confines of social distancing and wearing a mask. She was driving the other day, and she knew that I called her to check on her, and she was wearing the mask. I said, "Listen, we do not want you to choke, so take the mask off while you drive. However, as soon as you get out." So we've been really blessed. A lot of our elderly family members, they have not had to leave. Thank God we're able to take things to them and leave it on the doorstep. So God has been gracious. We have no complaints at all about how God has been blessing our family. We have several pastoral and colleague friends of mine that I've actually lost.
Wow.
Recently, Troy Sneed, we were in communication with him almost the whole
Right,
time.
right.
And just out of nowhere, we stopped getting text messages around Wednesday. And then, of course, by Sunday evening, we heard that once they put the ventilator on him, we just didn't hear from him. But other than that, we just kept his family lifted up. So continue to keep them lifted up. They've not funeralized them yet, but that's been one of the harder things is you're talking to people and within 72 hours, they're gone. and you can't visit the hospital. You can't be at the bedside. So that's been the biggest challenge of saying goodbye. And then, of course, once they go, not being able to properly, have a funeral. So
Yeah, I
that's
told
the
someone,
challenge.
Ernest, I said earlier, and I've been saying the challenge of this period is that even if people don't succumb to COVID-19, if they happen to die during this period, then a challenge for a lot of us is that we can't get to our family members, can't get to
No.
our to put our arms around them. So we're certainly praying for people who are dealing with
Thank you.
bereavement and who are in grief during this time.
Absolutely.
Definite effort to keep the family of Sneed in prayer, because I did,
Yeah.
of course, a very well respected for his craft and his ministry.
Yeah.
I know and love him, so I'll make sure I continue to keep his family in my prayers.
Please do.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, so book club members and friends of Let's Talk the Cutler and friends of Earnest, thank you so much. Let me tell you what's going on. We have been, Ernest, I started this platform, I started this as a book club because just on a whim, my friend, I posted a silly picture on social media one day, and I think you mentioned it to me.
Yeah.
The quadruplets, we are all me walking around in my house at the dining room table with the book. And several said, why don't you start a book club? Well, I started the book club, the virtual book club, and so many people said, please, let's keep it going. With the first book club, our first book was When I'm Overwhelmed.
My favorite.
And you remember that, but you also remember because you were in town for a concert, a ministry at the time, and you remember I was on crutches.
Yes.
Right? Remember that?
That was something. Yeah.
Yes, and during that time,
wow,
I had a lot of engagements set up, but I had to cancel all of them.
I remember.
You remember? And I think I shared it with you because I told you God had told me to write this book.
Yeah.
I could not believe that after writing this book and had all of these opportunities right in my lap that I had to cancel them. But look, 2 and 3 years later, how God has really time. But you and I talked about that. And here's this platform. We've got one book, and here is another book that a lot of the Ernest, let me just say, man, the virtual book club members have been so supportive. It's grown to the point from 20 states, different states. So I am so extremely excited. And 2 countries, the United States and I even over in Jordan. Right?
He had purpose.
Yeah, God definitely has purpose, man. So I am so very I'm thankful, I'm humbled by this, and I'm really in a reflective mode because I remember years ago when you were telling me that, Cutler, you've got to expand your platform. Yes. You've got to do more.
The world wants to hear that.
Well, thank you, my friend. And you were really gentle in terms of pushing, but look at where we are. And I just called you the other day. You all, let me tell you how this happened. I just called Earnest the other day. I said, I've launched this new platform. He said, well, I know you want to invite me. So, Earnest, you're busy. Would you really come? And he said, oh, absolutely. And look, you all, here he is. And I am so very thankful. I'm so thankful.
I'm honored to be able to see you give birth to something that we talked about, to see it we saw it in its infantile stage, but now that it's here, it's marvelous, man, to see that, because that book can go places that you and I can't go right now.
You're right. You're absolutely right, especially right now. So we're reading this book, and this book is we don't always get it right the first time. I wrote this book right after my Aunt Queenie passed. She died at the age of 70, and in honor of her, I made sure that I included only 70 lessons, and those lessons are for the next generation. But I stopped at 70 as a way of paying tribute to my aunt. And is looking for any of these books, they can go to my website. It's www.gbcutler.com. Some of the virtual book club members will put it on the site, but they can also go to Amazon. My website is going to link them directly to Amazon, but company to do a great job. So I just want to show off the website. That's really all I'm doing. Take them directly to Amazon. But what I want to do, I want to take a look at, and you've read the book, you've read through these lessons. I want to look at maybe 3 of the lessons and just have a candid conversation. And we'll just pretend that as friends, we're sitting here chatting and everyone join the conversation. They join in on the conversation. And I want to just sort of pick your brain and have a conversation about some of the lessons that I learned from my great grandfather, my grandparents, my mom, my dad, my aunts, my uncles, and everybody who had some kind of influence in my life. I put these lessons together, but I think it's important, and I'll ask you this before we even start. I think it's important for us to learn the lessons and pass them on. And so I'm
That's right.
Right? Are there any just lessons before we get to these few? Are there any lessons that you really recall that really stick out in your mind that you learned from the ancestors or even the older members of your family who are still with us that you apply almost on a daily or weekly basis?
And I'm a Southern boy, so I come from 2 things that kind of make my social location a little different than normal. I come from old line Pentecostal upbringing, rearing, and then I'm Southern. So a lot of things are going to be very funny because my people, they had their own like vocabulary. So some of the words may be a little different. But one of the things in particular that I can remember, and you correct me all the time for these words that have never been actually articulated in this way, and they're not in Webster's dictionary sometimes. So, but one lesson in particular, which kind of coincides with chapter 7, my family and I, we were singers. So we would go to a lot of musicals. And we went to this one particular musical as children, and our choir sung, and the power of God fell in the room. It was amazing. We got in the car and we were like, oh my God, we tore it down. I mean, we brought the noise. And my great mama, she would not start the car. And she said, hold on. You never get to give yourself credit for what God has done. If y'all ever do that again, you're never gonna sing it again. Let her. And what she gave us was, she took us to Proverbs. Now we 8, 9, 10. We don't know anything about Proverbs and what chapters, and we're not gonna remember that. We're trying to get out of this car, get home, get out of our clothes, play and eat. Right. Proverbs 27. You let another praise you. You never give your credit anything. It's not about you. So we grew up with this mindset. It's not about you. It's all about him. And so when she would get us, we'd say, it's all about him, right? But in the back of our minds, we'd be like, I know we tore it down. I know, but you better not say that out of your mouth. Or she was going to be like, God's going to stop using you because this is all about you. And so that's one of the lessons that has carried me once I started singing. You always got to stay humble and give God. She would say, God is not going to ever share his glory with nobody. And even when I stopped preaching, when I found out I could play basketball, you never really take the credit for something that God did. That's just something in our mind. So even now, when people come in me, I have to be careful to not say, oh, thank you. I have to say, to God be the glory. It's all about him. That's something that was taught to me at 8 years old. And it's with me now at 54.
Wow, man. Yeah. I think that's important. And it's those kinds of lessons that we then pass on, that you really don't become so full of yourself. So let's do this. We could talk forever. So what we're going to do now, we're going to take a look at lesson 7. We'll go through 7, 8, 9. And then I'll pick your brain. And I'll give the viewers a chance to see the Earnest Pugh behind the microphone and behind the stage. Let me tell you this as well. My friend is hilarious. Really. I think when I first met you, you were really. It was a stage play. Was it a stage play with the whining?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he's an actor and he's a comedian, y'all. More of a comedian than an actor. So you'll get a chance to see that. But lesson 7, Ernest, it says, let others talk about you more than you talk about yourself. Let others talk about you. If they are lying on you, live so that you prove the lie to be a lie. Mm-hmm. If they're telling the truth and it's something good, express your gratitude. If they are telling but it's something bad, well, then change your behavior. But let them talk. Nothing is more annoying than a self-aggrandizing person who constantly strives to be seen or heard. When I was growing up, I could always tell when the older relatives thought people were talking too much. they would cite this familiar quote. There's a reason why God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, twice as much, and talk half as much. So that's one of those lessons. So I wanted to ask you, Ernest, as a public figure, how do you balance how much information you share about yourself?
Well, it just depends on the platform. Like, say, for instance, you need to send over your bio because you're going to be a speaker or you're going to be a guest recording artist. I think you should give them the type of credentials that are, commensurate with the moment that you're in. But you don't want to just, I mean, there's nothing more frightening to me than for me to stand back there and hear them read off a whole lot of credentials. I'd rather them just say, this is my brother, he's coming, and then say to them, the bio is printed in the, what I'm saying, it's printed. And then sometimes there are times where I don't want them to always know all the good things about me because I like to be transparent. I like for them to understand that I'm not a perfect man, but I'm a forgiven man. And so I think when I let them know, no, I made some mistake. I did not always seek the Lord. Some things I did, and I did them on my own, and I had to pay for them. And I think that's a better lesson than giving them this flawless presentation of who you really are, because those things will actually live themselves out. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I let them know, listen, I made some mistakes. Yes, I've gone through signed recording contracts that really brought discredit up on what my morals and my principles were. I got in a whole lot of other organizations sometimes, and I didn't really read the fine print and find out what they represented. So I think it's important for people to know. I learned from that.
Wow, I think that's really admirable, Ernest, because you give people an honest perspective of the artist that they see, and sort of remind them the artist is just as human or more human than he is an artist, and I think that draws people to you. Of course, I've watched you. I've known you before you became iconic gospel.
Yes, you did.
And
yes,
you have always had that humility, that same transparency about you, which I think is a. By the way, man, people are just writing on Facebook. I love EP. I love EP. All of that is streaming while you and I are having this conversation. So you have lots of fans.
Oh wow.
If there's anybody out there who has never heard of Earnest Pugh, maybe you've never heard of his music, do me a favor. Google him. Go to his website, his webpage, download his music. He has a new project that's coming out. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But Ernest, I appreciate that humility, because this lesson really speaks to humility, and it speaks to character. And I'm wondering, speaking of letting other people talk about you, how do you handle the things that you see and hear in the media about you, whether they're good or bad? How do you handle that?
Well, I go by this song that says, may the good that I've done really speak for me, because I found out when you come into prominence and you get followers and you make yourself vulnerable out here on social media, people are going to take shots at you. And so earlier on in my career, I had people for no reason, they would just come up with these blogs, they would make up stories. And the body of Christ, unfortunately, sometimes will believe something negative before they'll believe something positive. So I didn't really have a chance to go. And as a matter of fact, my manager said, you are not going to respond. What you're going to do is you're going to continue to live out who you are. You're going to continue to get on stage. You're going to pour out your heart. And if that comes up, we're going to show you how to kind of deflect or whatever, because that's not you. That doesn't represent you. So what you have to learn to do is let people have their comment. But the thing that really blew me away is Oprah Winfrey said something one time. She said, other people's opinion of you is none of your business.
Wow.
That set me free. I was like, you mean there's nothing I could do to change? That's none of your business. You can't change their mind. You can't persuade them other way, because there are some people that are just not going to give you the just that you do. But
wait a minute, Ernest, back up for just a moment. Don't just drop that name. Said to me, did you all hear that? One of the things that Oprah Winfrey said to me, talk to me. So it's not like she called me one day like she called me. But I think that's a golden piece of advice, that what other people think of you is their business. It's none of that. ultimately we cannot change people's
No.
perspective. They will change their own perspective. I can't
There you
change
go.
what you think about me, but I can present myself in such a way that I give you the opportunity to change your assessment of me,
Yeah.
right?
As you
Wow.
state in the book, that's like, let them, live your life the way you can prove them wrong, prove the doubters wrong. And a lot of people believe have inboxed me. They like, after I saw you minister, I changed my mind. I'm so sorry. I said this, I said that. I said, you're human. And that's what happens. But it's my job for the God in me to stand up on the inside and rise up big when I get on that stage. He can change your mind, but the flesh part of me, I'm flawed. So you probably want to continue to attack my character, but it's up to God to really, I'm supposed to hold my peace and allow God to fight that battle. And that's what I do.
That's amazing. And my friend, you from not from a fan to an artist and a friend, I have to commend
Yeah.
you because you do it well.
Thank you so much.